Hi, I'm Ainsley Muller, Marketing Director with Actual Tech Media, and we're here at the Cybersecurity Marketing Conference in Philadelphia. Today, we released the 2025 edition, or it's late 2024, of the Cybersecurity Buyer's Guide, and Scott Lowe, founder of Actual Tech Media, is with us, and he did the delivery of that release today. Scott, thanks you killed it. You did a great job up there, and no doubt when we post this, people will be able to have a link to being able to view that. In the report, was there something that jumped out at you as this was surprising, this was not what you expected?
Not necessarily what I didn't expect. I think there's always surprises when you look at data. I think some of the differences between just company size and what they're doing in terms of security strategy, security maturity, and things like that are always interesting, if not always surprising. Yeah. And you definitely, one of the things that comes out in this kind of research is you actually see the lag between smaller organizations and large organizations. You see them being behind the curve. And we definitely saw that in this report. Like, smaller organizations are in a very different place than their larger brethren, as it were.
That really stood out to me in the report because you broke that down in multiple places, the different sizes of the organizations. And I was thinking those smaller organizations, there's probably a little bit of an overworked aspect to the team there. What would be your direction or guidance to marketers that are not focusing on smaller organizations or medium organizations at this point?
I think it's twofold. One is make sure you really want to jump into smaller organizations because they're very different than larger organizations and how they operate. There's one of the challenges in a smaller organization is there's fewer people wearing more hats. So in terms of having to educate and outreach, it's a lot more support needed for smaller organizations because when you're wearing so many hats, you're not as specialized in anything, right?
Right.
And so it just becomes more difficult to address them. I would also say that they just need to just think about them differently. I mean, especially with some of the results we saw, whereas there's a lot of opportunity in small and medium-sized organizations. If they're only targeting 1,000 and up or large organizations, rethink that a little bit. When we see the opportunity delta moving into 2025, there's a lot of potential in smaller and medium-sized organizations versus larger ones. It's not that there's not opportunity in larger ones. It's just there's more because they're somewhat behind the curve in those smaller orgs.
And everybody wants to be in front of the larger organizations anyway, so they're all targeting them. The competition's a bit stiffer. They've probably got more people knocking on their doors. One of the trends, and I know we spoke about this a little bit ahead of time or before, one of the trends or predicted trends for 2025 is this direct-to-buyer B2B model that is really being pushed. People want the B2C model of I can buy now. Do you think that that's maybe just hype, or how do you feel about that predicted trend?
I think it's real. When we see, in fact, one of the questions we asked was specifically that question: how do you want to buy these things? And as smaller organizations, the vast majority want to buy directly wherever they can. I think that we're in the Amazonification of everything, right? You want to mash that buy now button and get what you want, and have it be delivered by tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. At the right door to your house, right? And so there's that immediate gratification sort of thing that people are looking for, and it's really just an ease of buying. And I do think, having been an IT buyer for a lot of years, a lot of companies make it very, very difficult to buy things. Yeah. So I think those organizations that can streamline the buying process, even if they don't sell it themselves, if they sell it through a VAR or a channel or some other type of partner, the ones that can streamline the buying process are going to be the ones that have a winner on their hands.
Very nice. Well, you heard it here first. Amazon's going to be selling B2B cybersecurity solutions. Thank you, Scott. Appreciate that. So if people want to be involved in 2025 for 2026 version, what should they do to be able to have their say about affecting what goes into the report and the survey for next year?
Well, they should contact you. That's ainsley.muller@futureB2B.com. And so basically what we're looking for is, after you look at this year's report, what questions did we not include in the report that would be particularly interesting to you? What pivots did we not do that would be interesting to you? For example, after the session this morning, someone came up and asked if we would do one based on industry, which we can do. We have the data. It's just statistical significance is questionable, so we didn't include it this year. So as we rethink next year's report, we want guidance from the people who are going to use this report on what would be most valuable to them. So if you have ideas, we want to hear them. If you have questions we didn't ask, we want to hear them. Not everything's going to make it because we can only have so many questions we can ask, but we want this report to be as useful as possible to the market.
Yeah, and we definitely see, we did ask that question through the Cybersecurity Marketing Society's Slack channel. We did get some responses, and we saw a few ideas or sort of themes float to the top, so we tried to ask those questions, so that was great. So thank you again for releasing that report. The initial response has been very welcoming to the report, and hopefully we can convince you to be involved in the 2026 version as well.
I'd love to. Thank you.
Thank you, Scott.